Saying you know how to use AI in 2026 is like saying you know how to use Microsoft Word. It sounds good, but companies expect this. So if knowing AI isn't enough anymore, what actually puts you ahead? In this video, I'll walk you through 5 AI skills that make you more valuable because AI is growing way faster. I've been looking at how companies are actually using AI, what kinds of roles are growing, and what separates the people who are thriving from the ones who feel stuck. And it's not about typing better prompts. It's about building skills that technology can't easily replace. Let's break them down. The most overlooked AI skill is not prompting. It is how clearly you define the situation before you ever open the tool. Many people believe getting better at AI means learning how to write smarter prompts, so they focus on wording, tone, and formatting, thinking that small changes in phrasing will improve the result. But what actually determines the quality of the output is the clarity of the thinking that happens before anything is typed. I recently saw someone trying to use AI to improve their business performance. They rewrote the same request multiple times, added more detail, changed the tone, and still felt the answers were generic. The problem was not the phrasing, but it was that the request itself was unclear. Improving performance can mean increasing revenue, reducing costs, improving retention, adjusting pricing, or launching something new. Each of those directions leads to completely different strategies, and if the goal is undefined, the advice will always feel broad. This is not a technology issue, but a thinking issue. Clear problem definition includes 2 things, and those are defining the objective and defining the limits. When someone uses AI effectively, they do not just say they want growth, but they clarify what kind of growth matters, what time frame they are working within, what budget exists, what resources are available, and what outcomes are unacceptable. They explain whether new hiring is possible, whether spending can increase, and whether risk tolerance is high or low. Once those elements are clear, the AI doesn't guess, and it operates inside real instructions. It compares realistic options, highlights trade-offs, and suggests actions that fit the situation instead of exploring ideas that sound impressive but cannot be executed. Without structure, AI explores everything that is possible. And with structure, it focuses only on what is practical. The shift here is simple but powerful. Instead of trying to improve prompts, you improve the thinking that shapes the prompt, and when your goals and constraints are clearly defined, the output becomes sharper, more relevant, and easier to act on. In a world where everyone has access to the same tools, structured thinking becomes the real advantage. And once you can clearly frame a problem and define the limits around it, the next level is not just generating solutions, but testing decisions before you commit to them. Testing decisions before committing to them sounds simple, but almost no one actually uses AI this way in daily work. Most people use AI to produce something final, like an email, a proposal, or a business plan. They generate it, adjust it slightly, and move on. But what they rarely do is use AI to examine a decision before it becomes real and starts carrying consequences. I saw this clearly during a pricing discussion inside a growing company. The team was debating whether to increase prices, and everyone had opinions based on past experience, and the conversation kept circling without clarity. Instead of continuing the debate, the revenue data from the previous quarter was organized along with churn rates, competitor pricing, and cost increases. AI was then instructed to model different scenarios and outline possible revenue impact ranges, customer reactions, and operational risks for each option. The tone of the discussion immediately changed, and the decision was no longer based on instinct or the most confident voice in the room. It was examined from multiple angles before anything was implemented. The same approach works for hiring decisions. Instead of casually debating whether to hire an assistant or invest in automation software, the workload distribution, salary range, onboarding time, software cost, and projected growth can be clearly described. AI can then compare both paths over a defined time period and outline trade-offs, cost implications, and potential risks. It can also be instructed to challenge its own conclusions and identify weak assumptions. This does not replace human judgment. All it does is strengthen it. You begin to see second-order effects and unintended consequences before they happen, and you can review how a proposal might be criticized before presenting it. You can expose your reasoning to structured pressure before the real world applies that pressure for you. The key difference is intention. Instead of asking AI to do the thinking for you, you use it to test your thinking, and when the context and boundaries are clearly defined, AI becomes a decision-testing environment rather than just a content generator. Once you begin using AI in this way, decision-making feels different. It is not that every outcome becomes perfect, but fewer decisions feel rushed or reactive. AI stops being a convenience tool and starts becoming a way to reduce avoidable mistakes before they happen. And the real difference is not having more information. It means having a clear plan that makes you practice the right way, not just randomly trying things. And to see how that kind of structure actually improves your daily work is what we're going to look at next. Getting good results from AI once is useful, but building a simple system so it works for you every week is where things really change. Most people use AI in random moments. They open it when they feel stuck, type something, adjust the answer, and move on. And the next day, they start from zero again. But if you look at your own work, you probably repeat certain tasks every week, like weekly updates, client emails, meeting summaries, project plans, or hiring reviews. The details change, but the structure rarely does. Take a weekly report as an example. Every week, you need to present performance numbers, highlight risks, and outline next steps. Instead of writing a new prompt every Monday, you can design one structured format once. You decide that the report is for senior management, it must focus on revenue, costs, and operational risks, it must stay under one page, and it must end with 3 clear action items. That structure is saved. And each week, you only update the data. The thinking was done properly once, and now it runs like a repeatable process. This not only saves time, but keeps quality consistent. You are no longer depending on how focused or motivated you feel that day, because the standard is already defined. The same idea applies to hiring. Instead of casually asking AI for thoughts on each resume, you design a simple evaluation flow. First, AI summarizes the candidate's experience into structured categories. Second, it compares those categories directly with the job requirements. Third, it generates targeted interview questions based on gaps or weak areas. The process stays the same for every applicant, and that consistency makes your decisions clearer and more fair. This is what system design means in practical terms. You stop treating AI like a one-time assistant and start building small, repeatable processes around tasks that already happen again and again. When you work this way, your role shifts. You are no longer figuring out what to ask every single time. You are improving a structure that already exists. Most people never pause to identify which parts of their job repeat every week and could be turned into a defined AI process. They simply react to whatever task appears next. This is where something structured like the Google AI Essential Certificate becomes helpful, not because it teaches secret prompts, but because it walks through realistic business situations step by step and requires you to apply AI within clear constraints. You are not just watching examples, you are completing exercises that mirror common workplace tasks. You analyze information, generate structured outputs, refine tone, review mistakes, and improve instructions across multiple scenarios. That repetition builds pattern recognition, and after working through structured exercises several times, you begin noticing that many tasks in your own job follow similar patterns. Once you recognize that pattern, it becomes much easier to turn it into a repeatable workflow instead of starting from scratch every time. By the way, I've linked the Google AI Essential Certificate in the description if you want to check it yourself. And once you can build repeatable systems for individual tasks, the next level is learning how to connect multiple AI tools together so that one output naturally feeds into another. That is where the real compounding effect begins. Using one AI tool well is powerful, but connecting multiple tools so they work together inside a clear flow is a completely different level. Most people use AI tools separately. What they do is use one tool to write something, another to create slides, another to analyze data, and maybe another to organize notes. Each tool works on its own, but the connection between them is manual. You copy, paste, adjust context, and repeat the same explanations again and again. That repetition breaks focus and wastes time because you are the one holding everything together. Now imagine designing the process differently. Instead of treating each task as isolated, you map the entire chain of work from beginning to end. You decide where the information starts, how it gets structured, how it gets formatted, and where it finally gets delivered. For example, if you are preparing a client strategy presentation, you might begin by organizing raw customer data into one structured summary. That structured output becomes the base for a planning document. The key decisions from that document then feed directly into slide creation with predefined formatting. The main info from the slides are then used to generate the follow-up email. Each stage builds on the previous one, and you are not starting fresh every time, and you are not rewriting the same context repeatedly. The same applies to content creation, where one tool helps analyze research and outline key points. Another expands those points into a detailed article. A third reviews clarity and tone. and the fourth extracts short summaries or social posts from the same base document. The core message stays aligned because everything originates from one structured source. This is what stacking tools really means in practical terms. Because you design a coordinated flow where each tool has a defined role, and the output of one becomes the input of the next, the advantage is not only speed, but it is consistency. The message remains aligned, the data remains accurate, and the process becomes easier to manage because you are no longer fixing disconnects between stages. Most people stop at single task improvement, and then they learn to generate better outputs, maybe build one workflow, and that already puts them ahead of many. But connecting tools requires thinking about the entire system of work instead of isolated tasks. When you map that system clearly, AI stops feeling like a collection of tools and starts functioning like infrastructure inside your work. At that point, you are not just completing tasks faster, you are designing how work moves from idea to execution without unnecessary friction. And that is where the real separation happens between someone who casually uses AI and someone who builds leverage with it. Now, what is important to talk about is knowing how much control you should give AI and where you should stay fully in charge. And that's what the next skill is about. As AI becomes more powerful, it becomes very easy to let it handle more and more of your work. Like it can write faster, analyze faster, summarize faster, and compare options faster. Because of that speed, many people slowly start depending on it, not just for help, but for thinking. But the people who stay ahead do something different because they decide clearly which parts of their work can be supported by AI and which parts should stay human. For example, AI can draft an email quickly, but it does not understand the full relationship history between you and the client. It can suggest a strategy, but it does not fully understand your long-term vision, internal politics, or company culture. It can analyze numbers, but it does not feel the real-world consequences of a wrong decision. And because AI can generate an answer, does not mean it should make the final call. If you let AI handle everything without reviewing it carefully, your own judgment slowly becomes weaker. You stop questioning, refining, and most importantly, you stop thinking deeply. Strategic AI use means you stay responsible, where you decide the rules and check the outputs. You adjust the direction. AI supports the process, but you remain accountable for the final decision. It also means knowing when not to use AI. Some creative work improves when you think through it yourself. Some decisions require personal experience and intuition because some conversations build trust because they feel human, not optimized. The real advantage is not just speed, it is control. When you understand where AI adds value and where your own thinking must stay central, you build strength instead of dependency. You use AI as a tool that multiplies your ability, not something that replaces it. And in the long run, that awareness is what separates someone who casually uses AI from someone who truly stays ahead because of it. And that is the real difference between someone who just tries AI sometimes and someone who truly uses it to get ahead. Now you've seen the 5 skills that separate normal AI users from people who actually become valuable because of it, but knowing the skills is one thing. Choosing the right certification that helps you build them and makes you look trustworthy to employers is another step. And if you want to check out the Google AI Essentials certificate we talked about, I've linked it in the description below. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.